Welcome back. So Anieka Nyaitok joins us from our Abuja studio. You were talking about inclusiveness and you were focused on financial inclusiveness. Can you continue from there?
Okay. So yes, essentially what I'm saying is this. There are a few things that militate against our ability to participate effectively in the political process. And I'm sure Abdullahi would understand this perhaps more than, Chidi or myself, because he's really, in that space right now. He will tell you how much it cost him to have to buy a nomination form to be able to contest primaries in his own party. He'll tell you how much he would have to pay to be able to get certain key or strategic alliances. Where is a young person supposed to get those things from is one question. But here's the other question. Why are we paying to serve? The Nigerian Constitution, Chapter 2, Section 14 and subsection 2b says that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government, which means there are secondary purposes, but this is what government is set up to do, security and welfare. And if somebody says, I think I can provide this based on 1, 2, 3 things that I think will help my people, which is what Chidi talks about in terms of a strategy and how to go about these things, then why do we have to pay so much to even be part of that process? Who is paying to serve is one question. Now, Abdullahi also touches on something that I think is very critical as well. Even if somebody has the war chest, there are conceptions that almost preclude or exclude young people from running. He mentioned zoning, which is, I understand how it came up, but it's also an absurd idea if we are to consider having the best candidates for those positions. So he says, I can do this for my people, and some person says, because of where you are from, we are not even going to consider you. This is how young Nigerians, and this is how people who actually have a plan for governance and governing are constantly being sidelined, being marginalized, and being disenfranchised, and are not given the opportunity to move forward. So whether it's about money or it's about the system of political perception or the political mechanism, we already have major issues. Now, I'll round up by saying this, that ultimately, for a young person to run, we all know the reality is that there has to be a war chest, but you see, he or she also has to go into alignment with what the current political system is like. He needs to be able to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, and sometimes that takes away from the uniqueness of what we're bringing to the table. When we put all these things together, whether it's about financial inclusion or it's about legislation, and the president has signed that bill, all these things do not help the process of being able to put forward a viable plan to serve the Nigerian people. And I think that that's where we are going to continue to have an issue if we don't address it head on. Issues of zoning, issues of political perception, and issues of finance, heavy war chest, to be able to even participate and serve your people. I don't know why we should be paying to serve.
Okay. Now, let me add to that long list that he has just read out. To that list, I will add youth coming out to vote. Oh, it's okay for the youth to go and take part. It's okay for them to borrow money and beg for money to buy the forms and everything.
I like the borrow part.
Put themselves forward. But where are the youth who are going to vote for them?
Good question. But I wanted to add something to what Nekon just said, about inhibitions to participation.
Yeah.
Another to projecting our best. Another thing I wanted to add is the bar of governance in Nigeria is so low that it doesn't give room for us to have our best run for office.
We discussed that earlier today.
I give you a quick example. Many years back, as a teenager, a particular gubernatorial aspirant was fantastic man. Everybody knew he had the experience. Everybody knew he was more than qualified to occupy this office in a particular state, which I wouldn't mention. Now, but guess what? He wasn't elected. Someone else was elected because the bar of governance has... Actually, there's no bar again. So it's just flat on the ground. So I just needed to add that. Now, on participation and voting, some months ago I was in Owerri, and the guy who picked me from the airport, I was asking him whether he's gone for his PVC, and he said Ogachidi, forget that thing. The result, the person that will be president in 2019 is already known. So there is a general apathy, voter apathy, you know, not just in that particular part of the country.
Nationwide.
Nationwide. So you find out on election day, you see people playing football on the street. In the last election, I was observer, and I saw people playing football on the streets. In the just concluded election that took place in a neighboring state, how many people came out to decide the fate of over 3 million people? So those are the issues we also need to be asking ourselves. How many young people would want to support a young person, say I want to run for office now, or just as he's running for office? I can sit down here now and see that you don't have up to 20 young people who have contributed a dime to your campaign.
That's not true.
It's untrue.
A lot of things are changing. That's what I'm telling you.
So
you know?
good. So tell us about it.
I'm coming from the field.
Yes.
I have a colleague. Let me first put this to you. About 2 weeks ago, the Vice President of the Federal Republic called for some of the most outstanding young aspirants from the APC. I'm sorry, that's my own party. And basically, it was a mentoring session. It's not the usual take Ghana must go run. You know, it was just a conversation for the whole evening. We spoke, where you coming from? This was how we did it. You know, I advised you guys, take it from here and it's going to happen. And he said one thing. He said, my final advice to you guys is this. If you go, you put in your best and you win, you have won because you've gotten what you wanted. But you go, you put in your best and you lose, it says you have also won because you have now been able to put a foot in the door. And we would have been able to activate that sense of the possibility of young people's political participation. On that round table, I'm the president of APC Young Aspirants Forum. And so I was complaining and said, when we started this platform, Your Excellency, we had more than 200 and something. In fact, at that point in time, the WhatsApp platform was full. We were considering migrating to Telegram. Activism, enthusiasm was high. But the moment the